Hello and welcome to the RANsquawk Weekly Wrap-Up video, what will be the last RANsquawk video for 2011. I'm just going to take a moment to answer some of the questions that you've sent into the desk this week. So the first question is regarding the ECB's LTRO operation, which did occur on Wednesday of this week. So it was seen by many as the last significant event of 2011, and it did see many European banks tap the ECB for these low interest funds. The expected was around the €300 billion mark. However, this came in much higher, close to €500 billion in funds were issued, and generally above the expectations of most of major analyst banks. In terms of the market reaction, it was more of a buy the rumour, sell the fact, and in terms of the fallout from this, many participants expect the banks to use it for a mixture of events next year. Many banks have certain amount of debt that is scheduled to be rolled over for next year, and there's also banks will be also using this to boost their capital and their balance sheets, particularly to meet the EBA stress test regulations and the Basel III capital requirement ratios as well. However, the ECB, the main reason for the operation was that they hope that banks would then go out and purchase European sovereign debt. So there have not really been any major auctions for this week, so it's really, we're going to wait until 2012 to see the outcome of this LTRO operation, and if indeed we do see quite a high demand for European sovereign debt, particularly the higher yielding debt from the likes of Italy and Spain. Also, it's worth noting that we had S&P come out and comment this week that they are unlikely to issue a statement on the December the 9th EU summit until January 2012, so that's another thing to look out for. So we're also going to take a brief look into some of the major events that are likely to be driving markets in 2012. So as we would expect, Europe is likely to stay in key focus for most of next year. Some of the events to look out for will be those initial comments from S&P in January. Those could be quite important to the markets, in particularly the Eurozone's EFSF, their bailout fund, which could be really influenced by any sovereign downgrade of some of the AAA states. We also have the ESM, which is scheduled to be brought forward in 2012, so this could be a key event for the latter part of the year, with European sovereign debt likely to remain in key focus, as Europe has a particularly large amount of debt which will mature next year, so it will be pretty key to see how those sovereign debt auctions go throughout the year. In terms of other things to look out for, European growth is likely to be a key focus, in particular the mandate and actions of the ECB. So there was some talk yesterday in an interview in the FT from the outgoing member Bini Smaji that he sees the ECB having to do QE in 2012. So it will be definitely something to look out for if the ECB does change its stance, and indeed if there is a further treaty change. So in terms of other events, looking elsewhere, the US will have their presidential elections for next year. That's also likely to be a key driver for the markets. Obama is likely to be the key Democratic candidate at the moment. The Republican candidate, not really clear, although it is worth noting that a generic Republican candidate would be favoured by the vast majority of US voters, and a Republican candidate is often seen as good for pro-growth and anti-tax over in the US. Elsewhere, in terms of other events to look out for next year, we'll also keep a firm eye on the growth of the UK. And indeed, in February, if the Bank of England does vote for further QE. So it's likely that there's not going to be a great deal of change in 2012 in terms of the focus of the market's events, and it's likely that we'll continue to see some of the turbulence that we've seen in 2011 throughout 2012 as well. So that's it from us for the year. We hope you've had a great 2011, and we hope you really enjoy the festive period. We'll be back on Tuesday, the 3rd of January, and the desk will be reopening at 6:30 London time. We hope you have a great festive period, and we'll see you again in 2012.